theme of this podcast, the theme of my life. Like, I'm pretty afraid of a lot of things that I try to do. You know, I'm always like, oh, should I do it? A lot of people are scared to try even one new thing. Like, you've tried so many new things. Did they all work out right away? Are you just like this unicorn of like talent? Welcome to the podcast with Kilee Nickels. I'm Kilee, founder and CEO of the life-changing accessories brand Nickels Suede and the successful style blog One Little Mama. I made the unlikely transition from stay-at-home mom to founder and entrepreneur. It takes a lot of courage to make a change like that, but I love the growth and the confidence that's come from stepping out of my comfort zone. This is the podcast for people who want to be inspired to be brave, to take a chance, and to change their life. I'll be sharing stories and actionable takeaways about working with your spouse, being a working mom, starting and growing a business, confidence, motivation, and more. So get ready to get inspired and to get started with Kilee Nickels. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Kilee. You are with Kilee Nickels, and I am so excited. Today I have another guest, my good friend, Sandy Gallup. Welcome, Sandy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored and I'm excited. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, my second guest. So yes. You're breaking me in. We have so much to talk about today. I am really excited. Guests on the podcast. It's kind of, like I said, new territory. And I'm really happy to have one of my best friends because not only are you such a good friend, but you're one of my, I could say, biggest inspirations. Oh. And I don't say that lightly because having somebody that inspires me, this podcast really is meant to inspire people and get them going and get them motivated. And I feel like you and everybody who knows you would say, yes, Sandy is so inspiring and motivating. And that's not to just like butter you up. Like you seriously have done so many things. So
thank you.
You've just like, you're just a doer. You do so many things. So yes, let's introduce you and talk about like, how do we even know each other?
Okay.
Sandy, I tell people Sandy is like, she's my wingman, I guess. Like we do so many things together and we go back a ways. So, how do we know each other?
How did it all begin?
Yeah.
I remember, like I had won that bracelet, like the wrap cuff, and I think that's the wrap bracelet, and I think that's where I kind of knew who you were, like who One Little Mama was. But I had won this bracelet, and I came over to your house, and I picked it up, and I was like, "Oh, she's totally cool."
You won that was a contest. I remember
I
that.
did. And I was so excited because I've never won a contest ever in my life.
That's so funny.
So I came over to your house, I picked it up, and was kind of like, oh yeah, this is really fun. And then I went home, did some research to figure out who you were, and these earrings and stuff like that. And I remember I came back and I bought a pair of earrings, and it was the gold. It's like your first earrings.
Yeah, the metallic gold.
Yeah, and I came back and I bought them. And at least this is how it played out in my head. It was probably something totally different. But I remember I was like, oh, I can help you anytime. And you were like, oh, thanks, whatever. Yeah. And then I think I just came over one day and I was like, I'm here to help. And I totally forced myself into your life and was like, I'm here to do whatever you need me to do. My kids had all gone to school. I felt like I was drifting, like I had like nothing to do, right? Because I was like, oh no, I was a mom for so many years and now I'm still a mom. But yeah, I had no shadows at home anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think I was just like, I'm going to be Kylie's new best friend, I hope. And I think that's just kind of where it started is
that's funny.
Which is weird for me to do.
So that was back at the very beginning of Nickels Suede, like 2014. I didn't remember you won a contest, but I do remember you kind of like texting me and being like, hey, I can help you. And that was back when we had no employees. Soren and I were in our basement working. Yeah. And you were like, I can help you. And I remember taking that very lightly, like, yeah. And some people were helping us at the time, maybe one or two people, but we weren't really like wanting to, like favors were hard to take at the time, but you definitely showed up and you're like, yeah, I can help. So just for everybody's like knowledge, you definitely showed up. You definitely came. like I think almost every day, and you just started shipping orders like nearly
did.
almost every day while your kids were at school. You just came and shipped orders for nothing in return. For months and months, and then we started doing pop-ups, and you would just come and do these pop-ups at different people's houses with me, and we did like everything that Nickels Suede did from that point on. Like you just were always there helping and doing things and you would never let me pay you. Like I think I paid you in earrings.
Yeah.
So it's just like gone on and on and on and on. So now you've gone to almost every event with me, and you've graduated to now you do all of the hair for the photo shoots at Nickels Suede.
I have graduated.
Yeah. So that is your current status. We do pay you now, but Sandy now flies to any location that we do photo shoots at, any photo shoot that you've ever see, the amazing hair on all the models. That's all Sandy's incredible handiwork.
Thanks.
So that leads to so many questions. How do you do the hair for the photo shoots? And people say, who does the hair? Who does the makeup? Well, that's us, right? Like, I do the makeup, you do the hair. But people are like, who does the hair? And we say it's you. But do you have a salon?
No.
Do you have did you go to cosmetology school?
No.
Do you have?
Now you're opening up all of these, but I'm like, yes, I know exactly what I'm doing.
So this is like part of why I wanted to have Sandy on today is because Sandy is somebody that has, I think, more skills than almost anybody I know, and yet almost no formal training in any of these skills. And so we can get to all of these topics, but Sandy has been around Nickels Suede in so many different fashions. She's, like I said, gone to like every pop-up, worked almost she's one of our best sales people. She can sell a hat or a pair of earrings to almost anybody, but she has no sales formal training, but she can do almost anything she puts her mind to. And so that's why one of the reasons I think she's so inspirational and has lots of stories to tell. So, so that's kind of how we know each other. But okay, so let's tell me about you a little bit. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Canada.
Yeah.
So I am not an American citizen.
What?
I know. Crazy. So I grew up in Canada and had my 5 kids there. Went to college for a bit, got married and supported my husband through school. Had our kids really fast. Young.
How old were you when you got married?
I was 19 when I got married, 21 when I had my first, and then just hit 5. And then we immigrated. It's such a strange word to say.
Yeah.
But we immigrated to the States 11 years ago.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of where I am now. And I'm a Canadian living in the States.
Yeah. Did you finish college?
I did not finish college. I went for a year, and my husband played basketball for the college that we were at. And so when we got married, I pulled out of school so that I could help him through his education and through his basketball and helping him grow his experience in that field and let him go to the point that if he wanted to go further than college, he had the ability in basketball and he had the ability to go. Yeah. And so I kind of made the money and.
Yeah. So what did you, so you worked to put him through school. What were your jobs?
It was not glamorous. we resident managed an 18-story high rise. So resident managing, right? You live on site.
Yeah.
And so basically I was a glorified janitor of an 18-story high rise, and it was not glamorous. I learned a lot in all those years, but it was hard, gross work.
With babies?
With babies in tow, yeah.
So what were you doing?
Some of them I probably shouldn't say online. Not that they were bad, but they're gross.
Yeah.
Just cleaning apartments that people vacated.
Yeah.
And it wasn't high-end apartment buildings. We were in low-income, government-funded apartment buildings, we did a lot of cleaning with shovels. Like just
people leaving things behind.
behind. We saw a lot of poverty.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of hard times.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of people get out of that system and better themselves.
That's great.
But it was hard work. Hard work, but it got us to where we are now.
It's a good start.
It's a good
hard work.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys he finished school. You moved to the States. He got a job. And then did you stay home with the kids?
I stayed home with the kids, yeah.
Okay.
So I stayed home and still raising all the kids.
Okay. And you guys had 5 kids.
We had 5 kids.
Close together. And did you want to go back to school? Did you want to work? What were your plans?
I wanted to go back to school, like, because I think I felt inferior. So anytime that we would, go to some of Brad's company functions, I'm surrounded by men and women that have their MBAs or have their doctorates or, do all these big, amazing things. And here I am, small little me, where I'm like, oh, I have 5 kids at home and I didn't finish college. And, essentially I'm a dropout and I have no fancy letters behind my name. I felt really inferior, super small. And so I wanted to go back to school, but there just didn't seem like a time frame for it. And I think I really put myself on the back burner. Is really, I think, what it came to.
Yeah. I remember my mom kind of echoing the same sentiments because my mom had done the same thing with my dad. I remember that kind of pushed me to want to finish school when I went to college. Just feeling that, like, I remember my mom kind of feeling the same way. But, okay, so what happened next? Like, what did you do about that?
To not feel inferior?
Yeah.
Or my start into, like, actually...
Yeah, to push yourself, because I know you've gotten out of that. I know you have pushed yourself. You learned to push yourself.
Yeah.
So what was the next thing you did really that kind of pushed yourself that way?
I think I'm going to throw my husband under the bus on this one.
Let's do it, because I care about Brad and he can handle it.
He can handle it. He's a big guy. So we were in Canada at this time. I had 3 young children.
Okay.
And there's this big race, a road race.
Yeah.
That my sister was running, and it's really hard to get into. So you have to like it goes in seconds once they open it up online. And so she called me up. She's like, I need you to get on the computer and go as me, and I'll be on my end so I can get in, so she could at least get a bib.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'll help you out. Brad calls me from work. He's like, what are you doing? Just on his lunch break. And I'm like, oh, I'm signing up for a race. And literally it was silence. And I'm like, hello? And then he just starts laughing. And I was like,
oh no.
What? And he's like, you're signing up for a race? He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, that's the most ridiculous thing.
Oh no.
And I sat there and, I'm already having this inferior complex, where I'm like, I'm just a mom, I've had to put everything on hold and all these things are going through your mind. And that, I think, was the tipping point and I was like, no, it's for my sister. And then he was like, oh my goodness, I thought it was for you. And then there was this banter like, you don't think I could do that? Do you not think? And he's like, no, not, and back and forth and back and forth. And so it was basically a challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm going to show you.
You think
that
I can't
I'm going to
this?
nail this and I'm going to do really well. And I was always athletic.
Yeah.
Like I was on the basketball team and the volleyball team and did all of this athletic stuff before, but I had never really done a road race.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm putting my mind to it. I'm going to learn everything I can about a road race and how to run properly and blah, 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 to the point that I did well on my first road race. And then I just started running. And so I think Brad's, not humiliation, but his like, what the heck are you thinking? Was like, wait, I'm going to challenge myself and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that moment of like, you think I can't do this?
Yeah, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Because so what I meant to tell you earlier, like for your first memory of me is not my first memory of you, because I remember going to a drawing class years before, and somebody had put together like a drawing group that I had gone to, and it was like a figure drawing class, and we'd gone to somebody's house, and somebody had put together, this drawing group, and there was a model, and I showed up, and I was like, oh my gosh, who is this woman who's sitting like posing for us in her sports bra, and she is so buff. Oh my goodness, like she's so muscular and strong, and I was just like in awe, and she had this amazing short hair, and she was so cool, and I'd never met her, and it was you. And we drew you, and I don't even think we really met that night, but you just like were this like etched in my mind as this like strong, like awesome, like athlete. And so that definitely has always been you in my mind, but apparently it started, not started, but like restarted back then when Brad had like teased you about.
I still have your picture. I even picked your picture.
No way.
I do. So I have it.
Look at us.
It's all rolled up.
Our history started so far back. Yeah. So you got started into races and all those things. Okay. So then that jump started you into being like, I can do hard things. So you've taken on so many other things that I know you can do. Next thing you took on after that?
After racing, what was my next thing? I think it was, I'm totally jumped all over the place.
Yeah.
I think it was cake decorating.
That's what I had in mind.
Yeah, because Brad was traveling a lot for his work, and I needed something to get out of the house because I was in the house with 5 little kids.
Yeah.
And he wasn't home for 2 years. Like, I mean, he'd be home a couple days. So I was like, I need something to do. I'm going crazy. I love my children, but you drive me crazy.
Yeah.
And so I took a class on cake decorating. I like Michael's. Like, it was totally
also
random.
Easy, totally approachable. So, if you think you need something creative to do and you're listening and you're thinking, I need something to pick up, you guys should see the cakes that Sandy has been able to decorate because of this Michael's cake decorating
because of Michael's.
You can take a class and it can really take off. So you went to Michael's, you took this decorating class. But you've done cakes for weddings, like I mean, incredible cakes.
Yeah.
Just from this little class, but you've got the whole kit, you've got the whole
just from that startup.
Yeah.
I think it just kind of like it was like a springboard.
Yeah.
Of doing other things, like doing the cakes and then being like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this.
Yeah.
And then, pushing that envelope, pushing that creative side of, I'm going to do a 5-tier cake because why the heck not?
Yeah.
I can do that. Like I can do anything that anyone else can do.
Yeah.
And so I would just go on YouTube of all things and just start just bringing in information and more information and practicing and learning how to make it better, how to structurally build things and stuff like that. So yeah, that little Michael's class grew into doing wedding cakes and all sorts of other cakes.
Yeah. I love that you took like easy resources and time, because you had time and you were home with your kids, and it was just like evenings, weekends.
Right. And had a great audience to practice with, because what kid's not going to want to eat a cake?
There you go. But then this is funny because I know what led to the stopping of the cake decorating.
Is my kids. I would make cakes and it's all encompassing. Like everything would stop for like weeks. And so my kids are like, Mom, you need to stop making cakes because you're the meanest mom ever. When I would make cakes, and they're like, we haven't eaten like something normal. And, like the fridge would be full of cake and I'd be like, don't go in the fridge. I was super mean. I was super the worst mom ever.
Well, because once you get to like the 10-tier cake, I mean, like, it takes a while to get a perfect cake.
It does. It does. And, you have like finger holes in your cake.
Right.
Because kids keep poking it and you get,
Yeah.
So I had to pull back from that because self-realization being like, that's not good for my family.
Okay, so you can't take it too far. I've done my share of birthday cakes, and I've found, there's a level of like where you're like, stop touching it. It's I need a picture of this first before the fingers go in it. So yes, that's hilarious. But yeah, I've seen your cakes. They're amazing. They're beautiful. So I love that you just kept taking that on with just like that simple class. Other careers that you've had, like I feel like, how old were you when you had that cake career? Like you've been paid for your cakes. So that's the thing. It's like, it was actually like income earning.
Yeah, it was income earning.
Next career.
Okay, so I went from janitor to okay. It's like I said, I'm like a pinball. I'm just like bing, bing,
It's
bing,
fantastic.
Bing, bing. To cake decorator.
Athlete.
Athlete.
Yep.
I would like to say I was a paid athlete, but I wasn't.
Well,
but I still enjoyed it.
We'll get to that because now you're.
Oh yeah.
Now you're
that segues into another portion. What else have I done? I would say I sold clothing.
Yes.
For a
bit. You did have a boutique out of your home.
I did.
Yep.
I learned a lot from that.
You started an online boutique for a little while. That was for probably a year or two.
Yeah. Yeah. And it grew.
Yeah. And that was really cool. You had an Instagram account for it. You had an online shop. I thought that was a really awesome, like you just went after it. You learned how to do it.
What else have I done?
Well, home
decorating. Like now
you and your husband have your own business.
Yeah. We build homes here in Kansas City. We build, from like
That's like no small thing.
No, it's not.
It's called Fish Creek Homes.
It's called Fish Creek Homes. To the point that we can do custom. We do custom to community homes to, absolutely.
Yeah, and you pick out all of the interior finishes.
Yeah, and I get to decorate them and stage them, and that's fun, and it's learning, and we're looking now into like flipping houses. We're looking at some of the older communities in Liberty, because there's so many great bones.
Yeah,
like Liberty has amazing bones.
Yeah.
And coming into these older houses and sprucing them up.
Yeah.
And getting people back into Liberty and loving this area. So
yeah. And then
that's
just recently you've been certified as an aerobics instructor. Okay. So these are all like you said, you're a pinball, like all over the place. Okay.
Oh, I do hair.
Right. You've been doing hair for Nickels Suede and don't have any formal training there. Okay. But I wouldn't say like you're just mediocre at anything. It's like you're really, really great at all of the things that you try to do. So what is it that drives you? Like, what is it that makes you try all of these new things? Like you and I were talking about this earlier.
I think
because the theme of this podcast, the theme of my life, like I'm pretty afraid of a lot of things that I try to do. I'm always like, oh, should I do it? I'm nervous. A lot of people are scared to try even one new thing. Like you've tried so many new things. Did they all work out right away? Are you just like this unicorn of like talent? Have you always been confident?
No.
What is it that
I have never been confident?
Okay.
I've never, I'm really good at putting on a facade. So maybe being an actor should be another career.
Add that to your career list.
I have always had very low self-esteem.
What?
Since I was like a little girl. Never thought that I would amount to much. And it's not because I didn't have a good upbringing. Like I had loving parents. I had a loving family. I just felt inferior. I felt like I didn't matter. I felt like as much as I tried, I would never be like up here. I'd always be like really low. And I think learning was kind of an escape from that self-confidence, because I could learn something and then feel good about myself.
Yeah.
Right. I could learn something and feel like empowered.
Yeah.
But I still never felt confident enough to be like, oh yeah, I'm really good. Like when you're talking about, oh, you're an expert, like in my mind, I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm like, I'm a total hack. Like, so I think a lot of it was just trying to find something to fill a void that was crushing.
Yeah.
To the point of like depression, to the point of, not to get really deep, but into the point where it was, loathing and really, really dark. So learning kind of was my escape.
Yeah.
And then as I've grown older and I've learned more, I understand that what I learn is not necessarily for me, because where I find joy is helping other people and lifting other people and seeing the heights that other people can reach. And I don't know if it's because I've been ingrained with I'm always going to be down here and I'll never be up here. But if I'm down here, I'm going to give this person up here a fighting chance. And I'm going to like lift them up and get them to where I think they could be, because I can never see myself at that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I think that the learning, I love learning, but I love learning to help someone else.
Yeah.
Like the cakes, I love learning it.
Yeah.
It was fun. I was creative. But what gave me real joy is making a wedding cake for someone and just seeing them so excited about it.
Yeah.
Or like in like the house building this beautiful home. But what gives me joy is someone walking into it and making it their own and being like, oh my goodness, someone took time to help me find my house.
Yeah.
Or, and so I think that's a lot of where my desire to learn new things comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that as I've gotten to know you and I've seen, Sandy is always learning. She is always chasing after something new, but it is always to help somebody else. It is always using those skills to better somebody else's life. And I think that's a huge lesson that we can all take away, is that, if we want to get better, if we want to learn new skills, like that's great for ourselves, but we're only really as good as we can use them to share and to spread and help other people and really inspire and uplift. And so I think that's awesome that you've kind of recognized that, like, that's part of who you are. So what's the most like recent thing you've done that's like scared you or been like hard for you?
The recent one is probably my new thing.
Yeah.
Like that I'm taking on is teaching aerobics.
Yeah.
But not only teaching aerobics, but because that's choreographed and I can learn dance moves. I mean,
which you've been. Yeah. You're doing great.
But I think it's using that avenue and then continuing on into showing women and men. I mean, this is not just for women. How strong they are.
Yeah.
And if that's through moving your body.
Yeah.
And embracing who you are through that, that's kind of like my next, I would say, chapter of my book.
Yeah.
Would be my book Doesn't Make Sense, but this is the next one.
That's great.
And I think that's what it is right now. I feel comfortable doing this. Like my heart feels good.
Yeah.
Doing it, I get excited about it, about learning and having women come into my classes and feeling like $1 million when they leave.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's super exciting. I mean, I've come to one of your classes and I love it. I can't wait to come to more of them. But I think anytime we start something new, it's like scary and trying to figure out how do I do it and how do I make it my own, especially because you're, like you said, you're learning the moves, but how do you make it your own and how do you help the people that are in your specific fold, like your specific class?
Right. It's like putting your stamp on it.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I think everything that you do needs to have your stamp or your signature or something that's you poured into it.
Yeah.
And so this one was scary because, I did it and I'm going through the certification and I'm like, I don't think I can do this. Like, who am I thinking I can do this? Who am I thinking, we go back into that, I'm not good enough, I'm nobody, who would ever want to take a class from little old me, and then, Brad coming in and being like, come on, do I have to tease you again? You can do it. And then doing it and seeing people progress and seeing them become stronger.
Yeah.
And seeing them come to a challenge and conquer a challenge, whether it's, doing 10 burpees in a row. You know what? They just nailed 10 burpees in a row.
Yeah.
Let's make it 11. And here's how I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So,
yeah. Well, I think it's awesome. Let's see. We're going to have to cut this anyway. So I'm trying to think. What else do you think we should talk about?
We'll show this on the video version because there's a few favorites that you've done that I want to show off. But what's your favorite hairstyles that you've done for Nickels Suede?
My favorite ones? I would say the edgier, the better.
Yeah.
Like, I love when we come into styling and there's an outfit and I get to see the outfits and I'm like, oh my goodness, wouldn't it be so cool? We have like this really frilly dress or something. And then I'm like, wouldn't it be so cool to like on top do something super edgy, like, and not do, your soft waves and stuff like that with a frilly dress. So I would say some of mine are the mohawks that we do.
Totally.
And I've done one where I'm like, oh, I sure hope this works.
No.
Is that the wrap one that you're talking about?
Yeah, we did the wrap.
So that one was really cool.
That was cool. And I don't know if people realize, but in the background, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know how to do this. And so I totally like looked it up and learned like right then. I'm like, how do you do a wrap? Because I want to get it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want it to be some, sloppy job. I want to do it right. I want to do it authentic.
Right. On the,
because
it's stuff up
it's
on the
someone's
spot.
culture. I want to do something so they could be proud of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I could be proud of it.
We'll show a few of these hair samples in the video, so check it out on our YouTube.
Yeah, I feel like we've done a great bubble pony quite a few times, and like we just have some classics that
we
just
do.
have shown up a few times. That just I love and I feel like we always get each other where it's like, I don't know, it's just always we are always on the right wavelength where it's like, yep, this is the outfit's this way, so we got to do the hair this way, and the makeup needs to go this way. It's just it's always the right vibe. So.
Very synergistic, I think. We play well.
You've also traveled with Nickels Suede, going under these photo and video shoots, Montana, South Carolina. What's been your favorite one?
I've loved all of them. They're exhausting.
Oh my gosh.
They're so exhausting. I think people are like, oh my goodness, you're going on a trip? I'm like, no.
It's not a vacation.
I'm like, we're going to work and it's hours and hours and hours a day.
Yeah.
Where we come home and we're exhausted.
I know, like Charleston, I think we nearly killed you.
Yeah, I think we almost did. I would say my favorite one might have been Montana, just because those, like, I grew up in the mountains of Alberta in the Rocky Mountains. And so that was kind of like my home.
Yeah.
Right. And I got to bring my friends into my home. Like, I remember when we saw the big, I totally forgot about those dandelions, and they're huge.
Yeah,
they're huge. And everyone's like,
amazing.
oh my goodness, these are amazing. I'm like,
totally.
What? I was like,
that's probably one of my favorite video shots I ever got with Sage blowing the
that
dandelion.
Dandelion
that
was
cool.
amazing.
Yeah. And so that's what I grew up with. So like bringing you guys
For
into
sure.
a place where I grew up and doing things
incredible.
that I grew up doing, like water skiing and hiking and doing all that kind of mountainy stuff. Like, I wish we could have just taken you, gone fishing up in the mountains and all of this stuff. But we only had a little time frame. That, I think, was probably my favorite one.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you could look back on like your 18-year-old self now, like look back on, now that you've kind of come through, what would you tell yourself?
I actually got the opportunity to do this in a church group. I got to speak to some younger girls.
Yeah.
And I've thought about this. What would I tell myself if I could go back in time?
Yeah.
I would probably believe what people say about you. Like, not the bad things.
Yeah.
Right. Because don't believe those things. Those things are all wrong. But when someone acknowledges you as for doing a good job, believe it.
Yeah.
I think so many times, you know, someone says, oh, you're so good at this, or, you know, you've helped me through this. We always downplay it and like, no. Oh, thanks, you know, and do the kind of martyr almost, but to accept it and be like, thank you. I did do a good job.
Yeah.
And another one is, what was it? Just to love, you know, don't worry about what's going on around you.
Yeah.
It's not going to be perfect. But just to love those around you, love yourself, I think the most. And I think that's one of the things is love yourself and find your passion.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. And I would say another would be learning is power.
Yeah.
To have knowledge is power and strength. Not knowledge to be better than people, but knowledge of who you are. I think learning comes in so many different facets, whether it's a skill, whether it's behavioral learning, whether it's spiritual learning, whether it's just figuring out who I am, is also learning.
Yeah.
And it's powerful when you can figure out who you are and learn through it, and just keep on learning and keep on growing, keep on being you, but adding on to you.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I love that. It sounds very similar to, you know, Sage, one of our models that you know well, was on
Sage
recently. And it's so similar to some of what she was saying. And I think what I would tell myself too, because you kind of forget who you are after you turn 18 and 20 and all those things. And you spend so much time worrying about what other people are thinking or maybe judging you for. And, you know, the things that people told me I was good at when I was younger are the things that I'm actually doing now as a career, but I downplayed it back then, you know. Oh, you're good at drawing, or you're good at art, or you're good at writing. And I just kind of shoved that away and said, oh, no, I want to do other things or whatever. I should have listened to that. I should have just gone with that. Or, you know, I should have not worried so much about chasing other people's opinions. I should have really just tried to listen to myself and gotten comfortable with myself back then. And that's really what Sage's advice was too. So
I think we try to chase other people's rainbows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because sometimes we think they look better than ours.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's so much shinier, it's so much brighter.
Yeah.
Where really we need to be finding our rainbow.
And get confident with ourselves.
Get confident with it. And I think we'll be so much happier if we could figure out younger
how to be confident.
Not in like my 40s being like, oh, I'm just figuring this out. Like, I wish I would have known to go for my own rainbows instead of trying to chase someone else's.
Yeah.
So some people like me, like I'm so specialized in one thing that I do, because I'm afraid to be jack of all trades, master of none.
Master of none, that's what I feel like all the time.
But people don't actually finish that quote, because that quote actually is a saying you should learn more things. Have you heard the full quote of that one?
No, because we always stop at master at none. Yeah.
It's actually, so not to patronize you or anything like that, but I feel like you have become the masters of something. Like we even talk about it. You have a farm that you run.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to talk about the farm.
And you spent the time to learn all that stuff. So how do you become a master of something, of so many different things?
I think no matter what you learn can extrapolate into so many aspects of life. Does that make sense? Like farming, for one, is, you know, I learned how to drive a tractor. I don't know how that's going to extrapolate into anything, but it's really fun. But, you know, how to plow, how to sow, how to water, how to weed, how to do all these things to get our farm going, how to take care of animals. But I also think it goes further into other aspects of life. If we if we have a fundamental of learning, we can learn in so many different avenues.
Yeah.
Whether it's whether it's aerobics, whether it's putting together a workout class, right? They're all fundamental things. You have to start from the foundation.
Yeah.
And we have to layer it on. And you're going to be scared. It's going to be fearful. You're going to have things where you're like, I'm going to totally land flat on my face. And if you do, that's what happens. It's not a failure.
Yeah.
You haven't failed.
Yeah.
You just learned that didn't work.
Well, and I feel like some of the things you guys do, some of them sometimes work and sometimes they
Oh,
don't.
yeah.
Like some years you guys have had good crops, and because you guys have been doing farming for a couple of years, and sometimes you haven't. And
right.
You've had chickens, and some years they've all died, and sometimes they haven't. Like, I mean, you're pretty knowledgeable about chickens, but I wouldn't say all of your chickens are always alive. Like,
no.
They definitely get eaten and die, and
do.
like, I mean, but you know a lot. So like,
and I think when we take that, we know that I can continue going.
Right. Like
just because I have a setback.
Right.
In whatever avenue I'm trying to accomplish does not mean it's a failure.
That's true. You keep learning, you keep doing it.
Right.
And that's, I think, how you must have continued on. Is
right.
That you
and I think that's the takeaway of learning is it's failure when we stop.
Yeah.
Failure is not, and I think we sit there and we're like, oh, it didn't work. I'm a failure.
Yeah.
No, you're not a failure at all. You just have to try something different.
Yeah.
Or there's another avenue that you need to go. It's failure when we sit there, we didn't do it, and we stop.
Yeah.
And we're just going to sit down and cry.
Yeah.
Right? And be like, I'm never going to do this again, blah, 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 blah. That's failure.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell my kids. And I'm like, failure is not getting back up.
Yeah.
And when we learn, we have to get back up.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get knocked down in whatever, whether it's, filming, whether it's with your earring company and going forward, whether it's doing my personal training and stuff like that. We're going to get knocked down. But you know what? I'm going to pull up my socks and I'm going to get back up because it just makes me stronger.
Yeah.
And no one's going to put me down.
Yeah. And I think like with you've learned so many things, but like you didn't stop cake decorating when your cake fell over. You stopped once you were like, okay, this is making me a mean mom, but I do know how to make a mean cake. Like you've mastered cake making. It just was like, okay, it's time to move on to the next thing. But you did figure it out and you chose to stop. You didn't stop once it defeated you.
Right. And from there, I learned my steps of learning how I learn.
Yeah.
And those steps, and I can take them into
other skills,
other things I want to learn. And,
that's awesome.
And become a master at.
Of all the things.
Well,
I still think you've done pretty amazing things all along, and I love all the stories and the journey that you have to share now, because I think it'll help so many people along the way. And you couldn't be who you are now. None of us could, except for our past and all of our history. So so yeah, thank you so much for being on today and for sharing all of your amazing wisdom and inspiration. And I'm excited to see what you do next. I can't wait to see what your next 7 careers are, because I know there's more to come and all the different ways you're going to help people. So happy to have you. And you can follow Sandy on, where can we find you?
I don't know.
At Fish Creek Homes, right?
Fish Creek Homes. My personal page,
Sandy Cinnamon Roll, because she also makes.
I can also cook
an amazing cinnamon roll. She is an amazing chef. I forgot to tell you.
And that was due to teasing from my husband.
Yeah.
You baked some bread for our family that we still talk about to this day.
Thanks.
That is.
Yeah. She makes a really, really good French onion soup.
Yeah.
Yeah. French cooking is her other.
And that's due to my loving husband's
teasing
me that his mom cooks better than me. So,
which is so
challenge accepted.
Yeah. Anyways, so we could talk for 7 more hours about all of her Sandy skills. So, anyways, follow Sandy on Sandy Cinnamon Roll, Fish Creek Homes, and
more to come. Sure.
More to come. So, anyways, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week, and have a great weekend. Thanks for listening today to With Kylie Nickels. Stay tuned next week for another episode. And if you can't wait until then, you can find me at onelittlemama.com, MOMMA, for beauty, our family, style tips, and more. And you can find my business at nickelandsuede.com with the and spelled out. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.